One of only 2 times we get to talk to each other.
In the formal setting, it can be a little more challenging to do that.
So why'd they stop doing this? Too many people from the public?
No, we've done it both ways. I mean, we've had some sessions. I guess it depends. If we think a workshop's going to be highly attended, we might do it out here. But generally, they're pretty sparsely attended.
I've been to 4 of them, and it's been maybe 3 or 4 people, maybe. It's usually the same 3 or 4 too.
Yeah, and you and Rick were probably part of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for giving us an honor in this too. We really appreciate it.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you. Came full circle here. Yeah? We did the Residence Academy. It's been cool. Thank you. I'm very excited. I know it's been since like November.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Chance. So will you still be active in here? Okay.
But still, I didn't find any.
It wasn't my choice.
How?
We'll get you one of these days. We're gonna make it by choice.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Take a step.
I know there's
That's easy to remember.
rentals.
So, but it doesn't really change.
We had
You
somebody
just
come
got
in
you got
and
a quiet. You sold.
from a farm in Tampa.
Okay.
3 workers. They rented an Airbnb for 3 or 4 nights. They had a big commercial truck park in the residence.
Yep. And so he'll still be here.
Pesticides. Now, I went out and challenged them, and actually left that message
Good.
just a couple weeks ago. And the police did come out and talk to them.
Well, that's a good problem for us, I guess.
But they're saying, well, it wasn't just strangers. We couldn't do this.
Thank you, Nelson.
So my question is,
No, I was
is there
just
a way for
trying to
us to
decide if I need
strengthen
to
the
plug
disclosure
in my
requirements
laptop here.
without violating state law around what is or is not
squatter?
acceptable?
Man, going deep.
No, but it wasn't. They're saying it wasn't disclosed to them, and they're coming in as an Airbnb renter. And they're saying we didn't know that. They're playing ignorance.
Wait, I know your brothers. I met one of your brothers.
My question is, can we require
Who's the gentleman with the beard?
Renters to tell their tenants about it.
Okay.
we require disclosures either on the website or in writing or in his minutes? Well, it has to be before the renter. But I'm trying to think, can we strengthen the disclosure law about
Okay. Oh, I'm sure. That's awesome, man.
didn't realize it was always Chase County. They came from
Who?
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. So we are starting with our special council meeting, which is a council reorganization. It is April 13th, 2023, 6 p.m. Lori, can I get roll call?
Mayor Young,
Here.
Councilmember Gamble,
Here?
Councilmember Brandon is with us via Zoom this evening.
Yeah, I'm here.
Councilmember Painter,
Here?
Councilmember Sartori.
Here.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. First agenda item is council oath of office. Lori?
If I could have the 3 of you. Ready to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. I, do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and of the state of Florida against all enemies, domestic or foreign, and that I will bear true faith loyalty and allegiance to the same, and that I am entitled to hold office under the Constitution, and I will faithfully perform all the duties of the office of council member. State your seat number. Detail. On which I am about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations. In Tequesta style, as we always do, we have some gifts for our young children in attendance today, for Rick and Patrick's children. So Ford will come up, please. We got some.
Don't forget your gift disclosure forms.
All right, the next item, agenda item 2, is the Village Council reorganization. So leave Keith.
Thank you, Councilmember Young. Well, yes, you're still Mayor Young. Per the charter, this is our reorganization, and we have 2 items of business to attend to. Initially, first is the council is required to appoint one of its members as mayor, and then the council is required to appoint one of its members who is not appointed mayor to be vice mayor. The process, we can take nominations. If any of you wish to nominate someone into the seat of mayor, that nomination can be made. A nomination does not require a second. However, we can take multiple nominations. So if there are more than one nominations, we will take all the nominations, then vote on them in the order in which they were made. Alternatively, if somebody on the council wants to make a motion to appoint into the office, then like any other motion, if there's a motion made, the motion requires a second. If there's a second, then we will take that motion first before any other motions are made. The process is yours, however you would like to proceed, but that is generally one of those methods would be appropriate. And the first item under reorganization is for the mayor. So I would turn it over to the council to either have a nomination or a motion.
Thank you. Council?
Got something, Frank? Go ahead. Okay. I'm going to nominate Molly Young. Molly's done a good job this last year, and we have talked about the desire to rotate terms as we go forward to give an opportunity for other people to be in the leadership role, but I think at this point she is deserving of another term as mayor. I'll second.
Thank you very much. I accept the
Do you accept
nomination.
that? Are there any other nominations for the office of mayor? Then it would be appropriate to call for the vote on that nomination. All in favor of appointing Molly Young as mayor for the upcoming term, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mayor Young.
Thank you.
Same process for the office of vice mayor at this time.
I would like to nominate Lori Brandon for vice mayor.
And Ms. Brandon, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Do you-
Hopefully you can hear me.
Do you accept that nomination?
I do wholeheartedly, and I'm very, very grateful.
Are there any other nominations for the office of vice mayor? Seeing none, it would be appropriate to take a vote on the nomination. All those in favor of the nomination of appointing Lori Brandon as vice mayor for the upcoming annual term, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. That motion also that vote carries unanimously. Congratulations, Vice Mayor Brandon. I'm now happy to turn this back over to Mayor Young for the remainder of the reorganization meeting agenda.
Okay, so last agenda item on the special council meeting is council remarks. I will just kick off to say thank you, council. I am so honored that you see me fit to fill this role for another year. I do it to the very best of my ability. I give it my all, and I hope to make you guys proud. And congratulations to Vice Mayor Brandon. And welcome to the 2 new members. It is so great to have a council of 5 up here again. You guys both bring diverse skill sets that will be an asset to our residents and to us up here on council. So thank you for your willingness to serve, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. And there's not a whole lot I can add to that. So welcome both of you. And again, I will echo what Molly said. We really look forward to working with you and having you guys contribute to the overall benefit and betterment of this village. Thank you.
Great. Well, I'm the true honor to be sitting up here. It's been a few months coming. I've been excited and looking forward to this, and I've been looking forward to it for quite some time. I love the community, and I'm ready to serve it with everything that I can and give everything I have, and I appreciate you guys all accepting me up here.
Same congratulations, Mayor, and to Vice Mayor Brandon, congratulations to you and Frank for returning and what we can do. And to Patrick, I look forward to serving with you. I want to thank my family. That's the crowd in the back. It was very appropriate that, and great, one of those things that makes Tequesta, when you recognize the families and the commitment that we make in this, but the staff makes just as big of a commitment. I'm one of 5 votes, and my commitment to everyone that is here, you will know how I feel, why I feel it, and I will always ask for your input. I will not debate on social media, just so you know. My number and my email address is available on the website. I look forward to an open, honest, calm discussion about the issues. There's a lot facing the village. We had our citizen survey, and I read every single one of those comments that came back, and we've got a lot of opportunity here, and we're going to have a lot of dialogue. So I look forward to serving. I will serve with honesty and integrity, diligence, and I'll be deliberate and intentional in every single vote. So thank you for the opportunity to be here, and thank you again to my friends that are here as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Satori. And then Vice Mayor Brandon, I know you're not feeling too hot. Is there anything you want to say? I don't want to force you to talk or anything, though.
No, it's okay. I definitely was not planning on getting the flute A, but welcome to our 2 new members. You know, I'm very much looking forward to having a full council. I think it's very important for our residents to get a full team of 5 voices. Mr. Diambra, I look forward to you sitting to my right, I guess. I always love your input and your insight and your life knowledge. And Mayor Molly, you know I very much love how you've been running our meetings, and your dedication is beyond anyone can do with your traveling up to Tallahassee, going to every single league's meeting and then some. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Brandon. So I know there's a couple people in the audience that may want to say something. Our County Commissioner, Maria Marino, is here.
I'm not used to being on this side of it.
Hi there, I'm County Commissioner Maria Marino, and I just wanted to say welcome to Patrick and Rick. And I'm sorry, I'm sort of I'm less formal than most people. Mayor Molly, thank you. I'm so glad you made her mayor again, by the way. Molly and I actually we end up speaking a lot at different organizations, and you have a wonderful leader here. So I do appreciate that. Frank, that was a wonderful thing you did. And Ms. Brandon, I hope you're okay. I was in your shoes about 3 weeks ago, being on a county commission call instead of being in chambers. But welcome. Do your homework. That's the most important thing. And Rick, I like what you said. I mean, it is our job to read the information, question what you need to question. You have to go to sleep at night and know that you made the best decision possible for the most amount of people. So with that, I would say welcome. Thank you all. And if you need me for any reason, my office is always open. You know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maria. And I know our supervisor of elections is here, Wendy Link. Just don't know if you want to say anything, but I would like to acknowledge you, though. And I did see Mayor Dan and Vice Mayor Chip from Jupiter Inlet Colony, but I don't know if they're here anymore. Just left. Okay. All right. Well.
We have another citizen
Oh,
comment.
yep. I will open up to any other public comment or citizen comment.
Blair Schrader.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Blair Schrader, 597 North Cypress Drive. Obviously Tequesta. I'm right over here on the railroad tracks. But I can't complain about that anymore. I'm there and I'm set. Born and raised in West Palm Beach. Have one of my fraternity brothers right here from 67 years ago. We never knew he would make such a beautiful son, but I could tell you stories. We'll get together at one of the locals, but and I know Rick from Rotary down in West Palm, but my major reason for getting up here is that I'm being stalked. I came up here from Boynton Beach 3.5 years ago, and all of a sudden I come in here and Kyle Stone is here, who I knew, and then these two show up. So maybe someone can explain to me why everybody is coming up to this nice little quiet area here and following me. I don't know how many more are going to show up, but at least Pat went up to Hope Sound and Sue went up to Hope Sound, and I guess I'm safe for now until you all have some other people you tell how great a village this is, not a town. And I tell people it's a village because I get the water bills once a month and no complaints. At least I have water, right? So thank you all very much for listening to me.
Thank you, sir. Okay, any other citizen comment? All right. Okay. All right, with that, can you get a motion to adjourn this agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to our regular council meeting. Are we doing roll call again, Lori? Okay.
Time is 6:15. Mayor Young,
Here.
Councilmember D'Ambra,
Here.
Councilmember Brandon,
Here.
Councilmember Painter,
Here.
Councilmember Sartori.
Here.
And I apologize, that was not my Mayor Brandon.
Thank you, Lori. All right, tonight, Pastor Paul will be doing the invocation on my behalf.
Congratulations, Mayor Molly,
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Lori Brandon, and Councilman D'Ambra, and Councilman Rick, and God, we're so thankful for all. I have the blessing of, or the joy of praying a blessing over this wonderful meeting tonight, so let's do that. Father, tonight we pause to thank you for this wonderful occasion and to pray your divine guidance and wisdom and direction, Father, over these men and women that sit before us, that you have placed in these strategic places of leadership, Father, for our town. I pray, Father, for each one of them. I pray for their families, Heavenly Father, and I pray that you would just guide them and direct them in the year before us, that you would give them the great wisdom that they need, Father, as they lead and direct and guide this incredible place that we call home. Lord, tonight I would pray for and thank you for every one of our department heads that serve here, Father. I know them well. I'm so very grateful for them, all of our employees, every one of them, Father. I'm so thankful for their hard work and working together as a unit, as a family, to make our village what it is. And I thank you, Father, for our public safety, for our police and fire, and for the incredible job they do, Father, in protecting the safety and well-being of all of us residents. And Father, we give you thanks for them. And thank you for our manager tonight. And thank you for Lori, and thank you for Attorney Keith, and for, again, Father, for all those that have these incredible positions of leadership. We pray your divine blessing upon them. Father, tonight I would pray for those families in Nashville. And Father, as we gather in this chamber together tonight in unison, we would pray for your peace, God, and your grace and your comfort over them in such a tragic, terrible time. Lord, I think of the storms too in the Midwest and so many families devastated. And as we sit here tonight, Father, in this beautiful place, we pray, Father, for those that are in such great need there. And even down in Fort Lauderdale, Father, that storm yesterday, watch over our brothers and sisters there, Father, in that place. Lord, we thank you for our country tonight, for the freedom that we have to gather in this place to conduct the business of our village. We know, Father, that freedom isn't free. In saying that, Father, I would pray for all of our military men and women tonight, some in very dangerous places, including my very own Navy SEAL grandson, Father. Just I pray your protection over all of our men and women, and many who have paid a supreme price, Father, to pray for the freedom we so dearly cherish. So, Father, with that said tonight, I ask you again, your blessing upon this meeting in the Savior's name. Lord Jesus, we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, to start off tonight, we have two presentations. The first is a proclamation honoring the 90th anniversary of Palm Beach State College.
We have a proclamation honoring the 90th anniversary of Palm Beach State College. Whereas Palm Beach State College was founded in 1933 as Florida's first public two-year college and has continuously served the educational needs of Palm Beach County residents for 90 years. First as a junior college, then as a community college, and today as a state college. And whereas Palm Beach State College, since opening its doors on November 14, 1933, as Palm Beach Junior College, has grown from 41 local students in 3 classrooms to 40,000 students from 151 countries and territories, studying on 5 campuses located in Boca Raton, Belle Glade, Lake Worth, Waxahachie Groves, and Palm Beach Gardens, and online. Whereas Palm Beach State College, established during the Great Depression, when there was no Institute of Higher Learning in Palm Beach County, is now an economic engine, pumping $1.1 billion into the county's economy each year. Whereas Palm Beach Junior College merged with Roosevelt Junior College in 1965, which was established in 1958 to serve African American students. Whereas Palm Beach State College has been integral to the remarkable growth and prosperity of Palm Beach County. Our graduates, community and business leaders for generations have impacted every industry and continue to do so today. And whereas Palm Beach State College, one of the top producers of associate degree graduates in the United States, also offers baccalaureate degrees, professional certificates, career training, and corporate and continuing education. And whereas, with more than 130 programs of study, Palm Beach State College is the county's leading educator of skilled professionals. Career programs span fields such as healthcare, computer science, business, biotechnology, creative arts, childcare, human services, teacher education, environmental science, landscape management, a wide variety of skilled trades, engineering, electrical power, and public safety. And whereas Palm Beach State College's mission of providing accessible, student-centered teaching and learning experiences in academic, technical, and lifelong learning to transform lives and strengthen our community is crucial to the vitality of the Village of Tequesta. And whereas the Village of Tequesta, Florida, commemorates the 90th anniversary of Palm Beach State College with appreciation for its vital role as a provider of excellence in education and career training, and as a driver of economic mobility in partnership with our community, Palm Beach County, and the state of Florida. In witness whereof, we set our hands and cause to be affixed the seal of the Village of Tequesta this 13th day of April, 2023.
Thank you. All right, I think we have several people from Palm Beach State College here to present.
Well, I appreciate it. I am Tracy Pillay. I am the provost at the Palm Beach Gardens campus and also the dean of corporate and continuing education. And I would just like to say, on behalf of President Ava Parker, we thank you. We know knowledge is power. Certainly Palm Beach State College has been bestowing that for many years. We thank you, Mayor Molly, all of the council members for issuing this proclamation to Palm Beach State College in honor and in celebration of our 90th anniversary. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to say we certainly need to recognize some of those that have come today. Our trustee, Wendy Link, a true leader, a longtime leader for Palm Beach State, and just thrilled that she's here and able to make it tonight. Our Dean of Academics at the Palm Beach Gardens campus, Jairese McClendon. Matt Lenahan, where is Matt? I just saw him. Oh, there he is. He switched on me. Director of Business and Community Relations. Albert Colomb, Assistant Director with our Corporate and Continuing Education. Deborah Gordon, a new Director of Corporate and Continuing Education. And then the incomparable Susan Del Portol, as you know, again, our Director of Community Relations as well. All of these individuals are just a microcosm of this large college and system. And as you know, we have this great history of 90 years. And as we reflect over it, we, as you know, have coordinated and collaborated with you over the years in terms of the schools, the organizations, and the businesses located in your municipality. And I would be remiss to not point out, whatever we think nationally in terms of politics, this is really where the hard work of this education, and I should say our nation, really takes place right here. And I thank you all for the work you all do every day to make this a better country and a better community. As we reflect, a couple of things that you might not have gotten out of the proclamation, which is we are the 5th largest of 28 different public state colleges in the state of Florida, and we're the 5th largest. One, we have a very diverse profile, as you know, and you might not know this, our average class size is only 23. So we give a very tailored education. We also give away more than $7 million a year in financial aid, and we have over 130 different programs. I'm proud to say we're working with, and you may not know this, council members, Mayor Molly and Jeremy Allen. We've met with them a number of times, and although we have a great history, we have even a brighter future ahead of us as we bring education directly to Tequesta. And we're excited about some of those opportunities, and I just want to point that out. They've been great partners with us. Here's the interesting thing. For every dollar spent in terms of educating at Palm Beach State College, those individuals come back and contribute another almost $5 in terms of investment. Every dollar spent for them comes out $5 in terms of what they're able to do in the economy. Those are what students are doing. Taxpayers gain another probably $6, almost $6.50 in added tax revenue that's generated from those students and those graduates that come out. And then even society, as we looked at, we've done that analysis, almost $20 for every dollar that's put in. Another $20 comes out in terms of added state revenue and social savings that takes place. So we need to get post-secondary education as just an expectation of every student that comes through the K through 12 system. Also, you may not be aware of this, which is very interesting. Mayor Molly Young was also a Palm Beach State College student. She did not graduate from us, but we still take credit for her accomplishments, of course, because she was a dual enrollment student, as you know how critical that is. And so we appreciate that, and we still count her as one of us, and as we do all of you. So thank you again for all your great support. While the past has been tremendous, we look forward to even a brighter future. And we thank you all, those of you in the audience, thank you for coming and being a part of this, and we are honored. And I know we're going to take some pictures and do some of those things, but again, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. You guys are an asset to our county. Thank you so much.
Great.
chance to put them on right here. So.
Or bring that over, one or the other. The whole group, well, let's get the whole group over this way. You're probably easier, well, you guys want to?
You want to,
Can we just do one quick one, just the three of you with,
with,
yeah, just with this.
You want to get us in front? Should we be more in front?
No, to the side there, yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
There we go, perfect. Just one there, and then that'll be. Okay. So if you get on this, yeah, I see you, no, you're shimmering, they're good,
Oh,
they're good.
okay.
No, there was people behind, so
Oh,
they were.
they were just moving them
No,
out.
we're just gonna go
Look
back.
in here when they go. Oh, is that good?
We're gonna go. Yeah, you go over there,
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
There were people in the back, so I was just trying to move it out. Okay, perfect. Okay, good, perfect, we're good.
Awesome.
All right, so let's get everybody in, and then we'll,
Oh, yep, everybody jump in? Oh, absolutely, yeah.
we're gonna have to get in really close here.
Move in.
Yeah, we're gonna have to move in. You know what, we're gonna have to put that sign to the side because that's,
I think they can use you over here.
yeah, it's too much, or you wanna hold it. That'd probably be better.
Yeah,
Let's hold it.
that's even better.
Oh, there we go, now we're coming together.
And hold it down low. Down lower? Yeah, okay, a little bit more. That's good. Yeah, there we go, perfect. All right, now we got, that's much better. Okay, perfect. Good, that's perfect. Good, and one more. And good, okay, this camera only. This one here, okay, perfect. All right, and did we want to get everybody in there too? All the council, or are we good? Oh, we got everybody?
For those in the audience, this is only once in 90 years, so you don't have to experience this for another 90 years. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mom. Appreciate it.
We'll be at the next night.
Yeah, come to the next one. Absolutely. Thank you.
30 seconds.
Yeah, let me do that.
Oh, well, thank you.
This is good for your new office. Okay, come in handy, hold your papers.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely.
What's that?
Hi, good to see you.
Oh, gosh, already?
Thank you so much for honoring us today.
Thank you.
It was nice meeting you
Very
too.
kind.
Hey, we'll be back in touch. I'll get you like that.
All right, moving on the agenda. Second presentation is a proclamation recognizing April as Water Conservation Month. Is there anyone here to accept that proclamation today? Are you gonna read it or? Okay. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. We do need to make one adjustment to that. Agenda item 5 under the consent agenda, resolution 06-23. There was a typo on the question for the bond. The no vote and no percentage were in the wrong column, so those were corrected. It's on the dais here for us. So can I get a motion to approve with that correction?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to communications from citizens. Any communication?
One card, Harrison High.
Hi, neighbors.
Hello.
I'm Harrison Hine. We live at 19038 Point Drive in Tequesta, and we've done it for 27 years. So obviously my wife Cheryl and I are really happy to be in this great little village. We absolutely love it. I'm here today because in the last month and a half, I walk every day on the streets and sidewalks of Tequesta. And in the last month and a half, I've been run down twice from behind by bicyclists. Now, the Florida statute number 316.2065, Article 10 states, a person propelling a bicycle upon and along a sidewalk or across a roadway upon and along a crosswalk shall yield the right-of-way to a pedestrian and give an audible signal before overtaking and passing such a pedestrian. The only reason I'm bringing this up here is that I've done this for years, and this year, as the snowbirds were here, it just was really, it was almost dangerous. A lot of the bicyclists just expect you to know they're coming from behind and just go zooming by you quite a bit faster than it is really safe. So I would like the council or the police chief to have their officers just be aware that there are some people that are not abiding by this the Florida statute. So that's it for me tonight, and I appreciate all of you. Good to see you, Molly. I'm glad you made it up here. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for bringing that to our attention. I do know, I think recently we did a little a public service message on bike safety, and so I'm sure our village manager will talk to our police chief Medina on that and making sure we're staying on top of that. Thank you. Any other communications from citizens? Okay, moving on to communications from council. Councilmember Sir, anything?
No.
Nothing here.
I just had one thing, which I mentioned to the village attorney and the village manager earlier. In our community, we had somebody come in, Airbnb, and they came in with a commercial vehicle, which is prohibited in the residential area. And they had indicated that they had no notification in advance that that was a prohibited item. And so I did mention it to the village manager, and I mentioned it to the village attorney to see if we could strengthen the disclosure laws around Airbnb rentals without violating the state statute. So I just wanted to make you all aware I had shared that communication with them, because this particular vehicle came from a farm in Tampa. There were 3 individuals who were working it, and it was filled with pesticide. And there's children in our community, and had there been a spill or something of that nature, that it could have had a very obviously negative impact on people. So that is something I've requested, and I think village attorney said they're going to look into this. So, and other than that, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
To you. And again, welcome, gentlemen. And I really look forward to, I think we're going to have a great year, and as it's already been alluded to, we've got a lot of tremendous opportunities for the village going forward, and look forward to working with all of you to realize those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Brandon, still there?
I am. I got nothing there.
Okay. And I just want to say, I feel like I should have said this last month. I just want to give a shout out to our Recs department. We had another successful season of food truck nights. I will say, when I was at the March one, I didn't realize it was the last. I thought we had one more in April. We had a great Easter celebration, I think, instead of the food truck. So I just want to say kudos to them. They've been doing a great job. I know we have another fun event coming up in May that maybe Jeremy will give us an update on. And then also we kicked off our Residence Academy yesterday, and there's a couple of them in the audience today, so thank you for coming. And I think they had a tour today of our water plant, and so we're off to a great start. We're excited. I know you two are graduates, so and look where we are now. So we're excited. We're excited that program's going again. All right, we'll move on to standing reports. Village Attorney.
Just to congratulate council on the new members being sworn in, officers being appointed as mayor and vice mayor. When you go through the academy and then you end up on the dais, that's what some people would call an overachiever, but that's okay. I'm really looking forward to working with this council, and I did get to have a short presentation last night at the first night of the academy. I was very happy to be able to participate in that too. That's all I have for you for tonight. Thank you.
Village Manager.
So Tuesday we had the coffee with the manager, gave citizens the opportunity to come out and ask questions. Our guest or our other staff member joined me was Marjorie Craig, our utilities director. This Saturday we have coffee with the cop in the Shredded event from 9 to 11 here at Village Hall. April 22nd, for Earth Day, we have a community cleanup event planned that our rec department is taking on. We urge our residents to get online or social media to learn about that event, hopefully be involved with that. You guys have my financial reports, and with that, you have my report. Thank you.
Any questions for the manager or attorney? Okay. Police department. He was just here. You want to go, Chief Troop? Yeah, we'll skip to the fire department for now.
He'll owe you. He'll owe you.
Good evening, Mayor.
Sorry, you got it.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Village Council, Mr. Manager, Mr. Attorney, and Village Clerk. The fire department's been busy, and I know you have the report right in front of me, right in front of you, so please ask any questions that I don't cover, but I'm going to hit the highlights. Regarding operations and training, we hit a lot of marks this month in the last 30 days. Our digital dashboards have been set up in our operational and our fire station. This allows for better communication not only between the shifts, but also between administration and the shifts to basically fix some issues that we've had with that in the past. So a huge win for us. The SCBA fill station, that was installed and is now operational, so we are filling our own air bottles. We're no longer making trips to other fire departments to refill. This actually enhances our ability to do even more training, and again, that's something that's close to my heart as well. So again, another milestone for us. The traffic preemption system, we've had about a month or so now of working with the US 1 bridge closure. The preemption system, I'm happy to announce, is working all the way down to Jupiter Medical Center. So our guys have reported back any and all issues. The only issue that we have seen is a glitch, and it really comes from Palm Beach County, and that's when they're headed north at the one signal between Dixie and US 1. That box is actually controlling two lights, so sometimes it gets a little confused as to which one it's controlling. That, however, really has almost no effect on our operations. So that leaves us with, oh yeah, that's right, that nice new shiny fire truck. So in the beginning of April, my team and I went to Ohio to do the final inspection, and I'm happy to announce that the truck looks awesome. We were very pleased with what we've seen. We were able to test the pump, put the ladder in the air. We were able to drive it. We went through it line by line on the plans, including any change orders that we had. So everything is as expected. We expect the truck to be delivered to Fort Myers to South Florida Emergency Vehicles next week. They'll have it 4 to 6 weeks. That's for the installation of the radios, the graphics, and the mounting of specific brackets for equipment. So I will be sending a smaller team over to Fort Myers here directly just to facilitate that operation, to make sure we get it the way we want it. So I expect delivery of that truck back here to us, again, 4 to 6 weeks from its arrival in Fort Myers. After that, we'll be doing some intensive training specifically on ladder work. So using a ladder truck's a little bit different than using an engine. Unfortunately, our aerial has been out of service more than it's been in service, so I now deem that a weakness. So we're going to spend 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to get up to speed. We're going to have some focused training on that. I anticipate going in service with the truck sometime in July, hopefully the front end of July, and there will be a ceremonial push-in. Those of you that have been around fire trucks before know that we push the apparatus back into the bay, so we'll be doing that. So there'll be an invitation coming out on that. But right now, we're very happy. We're very pleased with what we've built, and I think you guys are going to really be proud of it too. So we look forward to showing it off. The engine is still scheduled for December, so hopefully that stays on schedule. Those of you familiar with the supply chain issues, I would not hold my breath. In my mind, I'm still thinking January, but they've assured me December looks pretty solid, so we'll just have to see and we'll bear that one out. Personnel, regarding public outreach and personnel announcements, on March the 2nd, we did our Take Your Kid to School Day. That's an event we do twice a year. It helps some of the schools raise some funds, and it gets us out in the community, and the kids love it. They get to play firefighter, they get driven in on a fire engine, and usually it's a pretty big day for them. On the 3rd of March, we did attend I believe the last food truck rally. And let's see what else we got. On March 10th, some of you were at the badge pinning for our newest captain and newest lieutenant, David McGovern and Jason Fawcett. And on March 22nd, we welcomed to the fire department 2 new firefighters. firefighter Kyle Trotter, and firefighter Lara Powell. So they both underwent orientation training. They are assigned to shifts, and they're doing quite well. So we're happy to mention that. Emergency management, we do have to start thinking about hurricane season. And with that in mind, we have several members of my team that are going to be attending the Governor's Hurricane Conference in West Palm Beach the second week of May. And hopefully, that's all I'll have to report about those things. We are planning to, we already did host the fire training officers of Palm Beach County. That was on the 11th. We also hosted the Fire Chiefs Association in March. So with that, that will conclude my report unless you have questions.
Thank you. Any council questions or comments?
I got 3 quick questions for you. If we're able to move to the 8-man shifts with the next budget,
Yes.
where do you stand as far as having, I know it's a little early, but, and I know you felt like you had some good candidates lined up. You still feel that way?
I think the 2 we hired were our top 2 picks.
Okay.
Both came in and joined us already. Moving forward, I have 3 or 4, I think, left on the eligibility list, and that's always in flux. So between now and October, any or all could be picked up by other fire departments.
Okay.
So I just won't know. If we get to October 1, and assuming positions are approved through the budget process, by August or September, I'll take a look at that. If I need to roll out another hiring process, I will.
Okay. And then Palm Beach County, they're fully set up on this side of the river now?
Palm Beach County is operating 1 ALS engine on this side of the bridge, 3 personnel.
Okay. And then the last question is, remind me again, the disposal of the existing ladder truck. I'm trying to recall what's going to happen with that.
The way it's set up right now, we would sell it,
Okay.
unless council has another option.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, going back to the police department. Sorry, Marjorie.
I'm a creature of habit, so
Yeah, I know. You're like, I'm on next.
Good evening, sorry about that, Mayor. Congratulations, Vice Mayor, Council, congratulations, City Village Manager and Village Attorney and Village Clerk. Once again, you all have my monthly council updates, just a couple of things that I'd like to highlight from that. First and foremost, our Family Fun Day that we held April 1st. It was our first time. We had a great success. We had about 250, 300 of our residents out there enjoying themselves in the park. We gave out Chief for the day, and I think I felt bad. Some of the kids weren't there, so we ended up giving, I think, 4 or 5 out. So we finally got a couple kids, so that'll be upcoming. Village Clerk always helps us with that, and that's always a good thing for the kids. In regards to our stats, our BLM stats, as you all know, it's 312 contacts, 66 hours worked. We're still in the middle of, I talked about it last month, working out the contract with Bureau of Land Management. As far as that goes, we're looking to do a 5-year contract. Hopefully we'll have something before you next month for your approval. We had a lot of training this month. I sent Sergeant Luis Lopez, Corporal Hoyser, and Corporal Baldwin, the FBI leader, supervisors leadership training. Criminal Justice Institute for Middle Management, Sergeant Blanc and Sergeant Yildiz. Radar Enforcement, Officer DeGraff Reed. Annual firearms, we conducted personnel, all personnel. Work environment training that was held from HR and the village manager to all police personnel as well. And then also our Palm Beach County Threat Management Conference, Sergeant Yildiz and the Detective Wachowski. And the only other highlight that I didn't list here, and I'd like to let you all know, unfortunately, we had a vehicle stolen about 2 weeks ago. I have to tell you, unfortunately, the resident left the key fob in the center console. We've had 3 to date, and all 3 we've left the key fob in there. Every time I talk to the HOAs, whenever I'm in the community meetings, whatever it may be, I always say, especially with these new cars, and you've heard me all say it, the key fob's in there, the mirrors are gonna be out. So people, it's not like back in the days where you actually have to check car door handles anymore. It actually tells you, that the key fob is within distance. Unfortunately, they stole the vehicle. But what I'd like to highlight from that negative is, within 24 hours of being reported, Detective Jesse Tequesta was able to get that vehicle back to our resident. And what also occurred, and Jesse was actually off that night, got on his computer, started looking at all the automated license plate readers, that all the vehicles that came in and out of the village on that particular night. And I know that because I got an alert that he ran my plate because I was working nights. So I got an alert about it. I asked Jesse, he says, yeah, Chief, you were there. I saw you. For the record, I wasn't here when the car was stolen. It was before I got into the village because I worked overnight because I take it personal. But what I love about Jesse is he always takes every crime, and I talk about this personal. You know, if this is any other city or any, you know, a stolen car, in the process of investigating this, there was a vehicle that was stolen out of Hollywood that came our way that was used to drop off these individuals who took our vehicle. That vehicle was wanted in connection to a homicide. And when Detective Tequesta called that municipality, they said, oh, we're not coming for it. So that's the difference between the Village of Tequesta of what we do. We don't stop until we solve things, and we don't stop until we catch the bad guy. And that goes to the credit to men and women like Jesse Tequesta. So I just wanted to highlight and let everyone know. That's all I have. If anyone has any questions.
Questions or comments?
Chief, in the consent agenda, there was the donation of the Sea-Doo. And are we going to, and maybe it's also for Chief Truby, the officers and the first responders on that, are they going through a special training?
Yep.
Just want to make sure that we're letting our citizens know that they will be highly trained on that.
Absolutely. So we have a great partnership with the Sheriff's Office, and they've actually volunteered to train our officers on that, as well as connect any of the lights that we may need for it. They have, as you may know, and in case others don't know, they have Sea-Doo as well. They said whatever we need in that regard, we'll get the lights and they'll install them for us and train our personnel with that. And thank you for bringing that out. I'd like to, again, acknowledge Chief McGrew. That donation started 2 years ago. Chief Troop talked about delays. 2 years ago, we started looking into, possibly, and we had a good conversation with Broward Motorsports, and Jim followed up with that, and 2 years later, they said, hey, by the way, we're fixing this Sea-Doo for you. I'm like, who ordered the Sea-Doo? I don't remember that. So he's like, no, you don't have to pay for it. It's, we're donating it to the police department. So I honestly forgot about it, but obviously Jim didn't, and he does a great job. I don't think he gets enough credit, me personally. Maybe it's my fault because I don't give him enough credit. But he honestly does a great job with that. Anything with grants, anything with equipment, Jim is always scouring for anything that he can get the village, of course. So, but thank you for asking. Yeah, we will be training anyone that's out in the water. They will begin additional training for that.
Good, thank you. On that same topic, Bureau of Land Management's going to rebuild that dock, and we were going to move our boat.
Yes,
and
sir.
I think the Sea-Doo is going to be housed there as well. Where do they stand with that at this point?
From the last time we spoke to Peter about that, it seems like they're going to be able to have everything there except possibly a lift that will go there. We talked about possibly utilizing it as part of, our contract with them, which I don't believe they will have an issue. So I think they were able to maneuver some of their funds. They're going to be able to get everything except a lift into that location. But as you know, they're doing a lot of work along the shoreline.
Yeah, that whole shoreline.
Yep.
Okay. Well, right now it's on a floating dock, so if they can't have a lift, I'm assuming, will we still have the floating dock there to be able to take the boat up out of the water?
Yeah, we'll possibly take a floating dock, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mary.
All right, now moving on to utilities.
Marjorie Craig, Utilities Director. It's so hard to follow police and fire. And one of the reasons is that the water industry is used to being the silent industry. We're behind the scenes. I'm perfectly happy. If you're turning the water on and it's there, that's awesome. That way we're very happy that way. But I do want to let you know that we had 3 star awards this past week for 3 of the employees from the water treatment plant. We had something happen at the water plant. Stuff happens in utilities. It's always, I sleep with the phone beside my pillow. Got a call. There was a spool piece, a critical part at the water plant, and we had staff right on the case, John Collings and Nate and Juan. And they tried to fix the piece, get a repair piece. We turned on the interconnect with Jupiter, contacted Town of Jupiter. I contacted the director, and they contacted the staff. And y'all probably never even saw anything because it was so smooth. The staff was up there most of the weekend to get ready to order the piece, and by Monday, we were able to put the repair piece in place and turn off our interconnect by Tuesday. So I just want to let you know that behind the scenes, we're there for you 24/7. Nate even went and fiberglassed the spool piece on Sunday, just in case we couldn't get the repair piece, so that was pretty awesome. As far as the monthly report, we've been talking about El Portal since I've been here in August. It was one of the first things I went out and did. I walked the site, reviewed the plans, had Doug with me. This is a joint project with Public Works, with sidewalks and Public Works improvements and stormwater improvements. We're ready on our end. We're just waiting for Palm Beach County to prepare or give us the signed documents for the contractor. We're going to piggyback that contract and bring it back to you in May for approval. State revolving loan fund, our first project, the first draw from that is the water main project, AC replacement project number 1 and 4. As we've discussed, we're going to defer the Tequesta Drive portion for now. The contractor has agreed to a reduced scope and provided us, we've worked with them, and they provide us that contracted price, and it's going to be a little bit over $2 million with a, instead of the total project cost that was bid was a little over $3.6 million. So for now, because of the 60% increase in cost over the engineer's opinion of probable cost, we're going to, and also having so many things under construction at once in the village, right? We're going to defer the Tequesta Drive portion, and we'll bring that back to you, the final contract for approval in May. And in May, it's going to be a big month in May. We'll be bringing, we brought to you the financial feasibility, financial sustainability of our utilities at the February workshop, and we'll be bringing back to you the scenarios and getting direction for a final decision as we move forward to the October 1 change in the fiscal year for rates. I listed a number of water treatment plant projects that you can read about and just anticipate coming to you. And we are all working on our budgets this year. Another thing I'd like to mention is that we have on the consent agenda, there's a contract with PACE, and they are going to be doing some testing for us for the UMCR 5, which is just a fancy name for unregulated contaminants that, including PFAS, which we talked about a little bit. They're going to be doing some testing for us. They are going to actually conduct the tests because, as y'all know, the requirements that EPA has put in place are down to the parts per trillion, right? So, because when you take a sample, there could be something that happens, and the cost is fairly high. We're going to have them conduct it so that there's no question about the samples that are taken and the results that we receive. So that date for the testing sampling is set at April 28th, and we can expect results within about 30 days. If we're lucky, 20 days. So with that, also want to just mention how much we all enjoyed having the Residents Academy at the plant today. They asked great questions, and I hope they come back for a more in-depth tour. We didn't get to go upstairs, so thank you very much. Oh, I do have the dashboards too. The one thing I'll say about the dashboards, unless you have some questions, is that remember that the monthly revenue and the monthly production is a month in lag. We've been very dry. Talking to the operations staff, we started our interconnect back with South Martin Regional Utilities March 31st. So they're taking, again, between 100,000 and 200,000 gallons per day. But also, just our production rates are much higher the last month or so. And just since the beginning of April, Our average day water use is about 2.6 million gallons per day throughout the year, if you averaged it over the year. In April, we've been producing over 3 million gallons per day, up to 3.7 million gallons per day. So it's been that dry. So with that, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Marjorie. Council comments or questions?
No.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the regular agenda. Old business, agenda item 12, consider approval of parkland purchase policy. Jeremy?
Thank you, ma'am. During the January 12th regular council meeting, council directed staff to draft a policy, council to utilize when considering purchasing of property for parkland. During the January 30th council workshop, council directed staff to make some minor changes and bring that policy back. So what you have in front of you is those changes. I think the changes were highlighted in red. The policy basically outlines 5 steps: acquisition opportunity, system context, sustainability, property characteristics, acquisition priority. So utilizing this policy, you would go through those steps to help make a decision whether the property is, is something that the village should consider. Obviously, always taking consideration, the financial feasibility of it. These are considered criteria to help make a decision. You obviously wouldn't hit all of them. So like in, like ownership, property characteristics, there's, different criteria. Same thing with sustainability. You hope that it checked box one of those throughout that process to help you make a decision, and ultimately council will have that final decision whether it's a property worth purchasing. So I can answer any questions on the policy. I think this is the second time you guys have seen it, but if there's any questions, I can answer those.
Thank you. Any council comments or questions?
I'm good with the changes that have been made, so.
I am as well.
Same.
Okay. Any public comment? Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Can I get-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on, agenda item 13, consider acceptance of the village-wide underground feasibility assessment developed by Kimley Horn.
So April 3rd, Village Council Workshop presented a draft village-wide underground feasibility assessment presented by Kimley Horn. What you have in front of you is that final version for acceptance. By accepting it, it'll basically close out the project and we can move to the next phase, which, as we've discussed, we are searching for a grant to get us through that next phase. The master plan is next. It's roughly a $150,000 project. We are seeking a grant for half of that through the DEO. But this project really gave us an idea of what those costs look like. And it's kind of the first step of that master plan. So with it, you have the final version for acceptance or consider for acceptance.
Council comments or questions?
I just think that I applaud the staff and Kimley Horn for the work they've done. As we look through the resident survey comments, you see this quite a bit about the fees, wanting to underground. It's a tremendous process. It's very expensive. There's a lot of different ways to do that assessment methodology, and I just applaud the staff and prior councils for pushing this forward and finding out and giving all the information that we can. But it's nice to see that what residents want are what we're doing. So finding it out. So I think it's great.
Yeah, I'll second that. I think the report was extremely thorough. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the undergrounding altogether, but I think the report prepared by Kimley Horn was extremely thorough and answered every question I had. So.
Yeah, they did an excellent job, and Patrick, to your point, we got a long way to go between here and there. And it may not even be financially feasible at the end of the day, but we need to do the upfront work to at least understand the entire process, the entire costs, and all the elements. So again, I agree with you, both of you. I think they did an excellent job in this initial stage.
Okay, I just have 2 quick comments. I know I received a little bit of pushback last meeting when I requested staff to put together a high-level cost for a project coordinator or project manager for the job, as well as a financial consultant. I do feel there's enough info in here to put together a high-level cost for those 2 roles that we'll need to fill. So is that something staff can reconsider and add those? Because 8 to 10 years of having to hire a project manager. I mean, that's, you know, a significant cost I think we need to add to this.
Yeah, I'm just clarify, I don't think we push back, staff push back. I mean, we can provide that information as we move through this process and it comes back up for decision again, we can provide those for you.
Okay, great. And then I know Kevin was gonna get us the cost, which would be a deduct if we kept all the newly hardened feeders in place and just underground what's not new.
Yeah, he provided that. I thought it was in the newest report, but the deduct for the project that was already hardened, like along US 1, was $22 to $28 million would be the deduct from that for the part that we would not be undergrounding because it's already recently hardened. So that, I guess we can memorialize that as we accept that and keep that in mind that we could be looking at $22 to $28 million less.
Okay, thank you. All right, any public comment? Nope. And Vice Mayor Brandon, are you still there? Figured you'd speak up if you want to talk. Is she still there?
No, I know. You guys are doing a good job.
Okay.
You don't come to
Just
me.
wanted to check on you. All right. All right, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on, agenda item 14, consider approval of the 2023-2024 strategic plan.
So the council had a strategic plan workshop back in February. We brought in a facilitator to help us draft that plan. What you have in front of you is that draft plan with the comments. I think one of the steps that we took this year was to actually rank those priorities or those initiatives. The packet, or the backup, the draft strategic plan does have those priorities, I guess, in order from the rankings that the council provided. So we will use this document to help us with budgeting and really try to tackle those initiatives, those high priority initiatives that you guys have on here.
Thank you. Any council comments?
So Jeremy, just as a reminder, the summary that was provided will go alongside the actual planning document that you've developed with staff over time with the point system. So it'll be very clear as to not only what's prioritized, but where it ranks relative to other things, right? Because I'm looking at this, what we have right here is a summary, but we have the larger plan that we've had in the past.
Yeah, I mean, this was what was, I guess, developed through Herb, who was our facilitator.
Right.
I know the mayor's asking about that too. We will take this and we will put it in a different format that'll be a lot clearer. As we start to develop these, now staff will kind of give you guys updates or what the next steps in those and take it more granular than what this is. So, yeah.
Okay. That was my only question.
Yeah.
Okay, any public comment? All right, can I get a motion?
One of you gentlemen want to make the first motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on, agenda item 15, ordinance number 05-23, second reading of adding veterinarian services to C2 district.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 0523, ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 78 zoning, Section 78-177, C2 Community Commercial District to include veterinary office as a special exception use in that zoning district, providing that each and every other section and subsection in Chapter 78 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, severability clause, authority to codify effective date, and for other purposes. This is second reading.
Good evening. Congratulations, Mayor Young. Congratulations, Vice Mayor Brandon, new council members. As our legal counsel mentioned, this is the second reading with regard to this ordinance and is about allowing veterinary office on a C2 zoning district on standalone buildings, which will not include plazas, commercial plazas. Please, I'm here if you have any questions.
Okay, any council comments?
I just think that this process with this specific item kind of shows what municipal government at its core really is looking at something that made sense for the community, for the village, for the residents, and I'm glad that we went through with this.
Yeah, I'll second that.
And I'll make an enthusiastic motion to adopt.
Well, we have to take public comment still.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
And I just had
You're right.
two
We
quick
do.
questions. The freestanding building, you said it's not a plaza, but can you just define freestanding building? Like, if it's not a plaza, is there a square footage, or what exactly does that mean? I just want to make sure it's really clear in the ordinance, and there's no, like, intent can't be read, right? So I think it should be clear.
Yes, a freestanding building is, from the development point of view, is one parcel with one structure. That's, one structure, and the intent is to have one ownership, because on a plaza, you can have different owners, you can have different tenants, that's a commercial plaza. So that's the intent of the ordinance.
Okay. And then, I know, last month I brought up about maybe making some changes to the, definition, which, I was, at the time said we couldn't do, but I know we can. So if, I would want to pass this as is, because I know we have an interested party and don't want to hold, their process up, but we could tackle it as another update to the ordinance, because there's two things in there. One was, it just says veterinary offices may include an outdoor area, and I feel strongly that they must include an outdoor area. It should, it's a veterinarian service, there could be animals that have disease, and you don't want them, walking around as someone else's, property, because those areas should be, cleansed properly too. So I think we could consider that, and then, the 24-hour emergency care, there are 24-hour emergency care facilities nearby, and I wouldn't want to, I'm 24-hour, like, not, the facility's not open 24 hours. Like, if the veterinarian has a patient there overnight and those people need to come, there would be staff there to, help with the animals overnight, but not a facility, like, emergency facility open 24 hours.
Yep.
So I still think those are maybe two things to consider, and again, approve this as is, and then we can tackle the definition change, because that would apply for C2 and C3 if we change the definitions.
Yes.
Let me ask a question in that regard. Since it says may, my understanding is that if they want to include this or not include this, they have to come to the council for approval, correct?
Well, in this case, it's an special exception use, and yes, it will come in front of council for the C2 district. In fact, we already are talking with an applicant that is coming in front of council for as a special exception use.
So my question, Mayor, would be, since they have to come to us, do we want to leave some flexibility there, or do you want to just shut it down completely? I mean, I guess as long as they come to us and we understand the circumstances and what's going on, we can make a reasoned decision about whether we do want to, do perhaps, if they do what they're asking. So we want to maintain that flexibility. That would be my question. As long as they come to us and we have a chance to pass judgment on it, I'm okay with the word may.
Yeah, I personally just feel strongly that they should have a designated area with their service. And two, we are having this conversation, so if something comes across our desk, we know what we talked about and what we would probably consider. But I'm thinking more like future councils, when we're all gone, they aren't going to know what we talked about, during this process. So that's kind of where, my mindset's going with that.
Fair enough. Well, I
But
agree.
again,
I think it makes sense, as you said, to pass it as it is, and then we can address that element of it next time around.
Okay. All right, any public comment?
I just want to again, Miles Rowley, 99 Fairview West.
Thank you.
And I just want to again enthusiastically thank you all for consideration of this. And I hope to make the village of Tequesta very proud and serve all the wonderful pets of our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Namath?
Hi, Jessica Namath, 20 Shady Lane. I just had a quick question, and I could have missed this, but are there residents, was anybody, I think at one of the meetings they had asked if, because of the overnight that you were speaking about, if there were residents that would be bothered by it? Had they followed, has anybody reached out to them to ask? Or no?
So that would, Nelson, you can advise, but that would happen, I think, at time of site plan approval, if an applicant submitted and it came across our desk for site plan approval.
We have not received any phone calls with regard to this specific ordinance. Opposing this ordinance, we have not received any phone call.
And have those residents been made aware of this ordinance specifically, or? Like, have they been made, are they, is the onus on them to know that this is taking place, in other words, or do they?
Yeah,
do you
Keith,
guys reach out?
can you just
I'm
advise on
curious
that real quick on,
The ordinance
public
was,
notice
the ordinance was advertised pursuant to legal requirements, as was the agenda, and everything in tonight's meeting, so it has been properly noticed in the newspaper and.
Newspaper, okay.
Yes, as part of our process and part of the code requires that we advertise this on the Palm Beach Post, basically. So this has been part of the Palm Beach Post, and obviously it's also on the village website.
Right,
So
okay.
that's the legal ad that we talk about.
Okay, I was just, so just wanting to make sure that we're aware that there was some concern about barking or noise if there was overnight, and whether or not the residents that live directly behind this were aware of this being on the board to be changed, I think, right? So, thank you.
thank you. All right, any other public comment? Nelson, do you have something else to add?
Yes, I also would like to add that because this use is a special exception use, when it comes from a council, all the residents surrounding this property will receive a letter to their attention. So, yes, they will be specifically notified at the time.
Yes. All right, thank you. All right, council?
Jessica, I think one of the things we can tell you is that we have received, in prior meetings, there are numerous people here who are supportive of this, and I can, the council has received dozens of emails supporting this initiative. So it's been a very loud and clear voice of support.
Certainly, and I know.
Yeah, just so you know.
Previous council members involved also, so
Yeah.
it's fair to understand.
Okay,
So I'll repeat my enthusiastic motion to approve.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then you'll add the definition to, I don't know if we need to workshop it or it can just come to council meeting. All right, moving on to new business, ordinance number 06-23, first reading of changes to our conceptual plan process. Keith?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 0623, an ordinance of the Village Council, Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 78 zoning, Section 78-4 definitions, to revise the existing definitions for the terms major and minor redevelopment, and at Section 78-332 pre-application meeting, optional pre-application review process. To modify this section heading and clarify instances when conceptual presentations to the Village Council are required, and at Appendix D, Land Development Fee Schedule, to contemplate both mandatory and optional conceptual presentations to the Village Council and increase the fee for both. Providing that each and every other section, subsection of Chapter 78 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted. Providing conflicts clause, severability clause, authority to codify an effective date and for other purposes. This is first reading.
Nelson?
Thank you. As we included on the memo to the Village Council, just as a background, in 2014, the village adopted Ordinance 4213, which included the conceptual presentations into our village code. The intent of that ordinance was to offer an opportunity to the developers, applicants, to come in front of council and present their conceptual drawings, ideas, before they submit a full site plan review, which obviously is expensive, and then they will go through a long process until they arrive in front of Village Council. So that was the intent in 2014. And historically, staff does not review those applications. Basically, it's an application for a conceptual presentation to council. So we will receive the rendering site plans, and then we will upload it into the system. Historically, we do not review for density, lot coverage, all the zoning regulations. So it was more like a presentation, a marketing presentation in front of council to show the renderings and things like that. So since last year, we start discussing about this conceptual presentation, and there was also a workshop with the council. So the proposed language that is in front of you tonight is specifically says that still the applicant may choose to participate on the conceptual plan review. However, Section 1 says that projects on Beach Road, US Highway 1, Tequesta Drive, Old Dixie Highway, Cypress Drive, and Bridge Road that shall submit a conceptual site plan to the Village Council. So basically, projects that will be located in those specific streets is now, if this ordinance passes and is for consideration, they will be obligated to submit, to come in front of council for this conceptual presentation. And the projects that are considering this is new development or major redevelopment, and also site plan review requiring a code text amendment. So the other new language is on 2B that says, this shall include a site plan indicating height, number of stories, density, number of units, open space, lot coverage calculation, floor plan, and surveys. So what is new and included in this ordinance is that now when an applicant says, I would like to submit for a conceptual presentation, staff will receive the application and we will review if it's in compliance or not with density and all those criteria, zoning criteria. So basically, those are the two new components of this ordinance.
Thank you, Nelson. Council?
I just have a question. Is this I'm not expressing an opinion one way or the other, but is this a common practice in other municipalities similar size to Tequesta to follow this process versus what we were doing historically?
Other municipalities, they call this workshop, like, you are going to a workshop, we just call it here conceptual presentation. But I would say this is something that is very much appreciated for developers here, because they can have much before spending financial resources into developing site plans and, engaging engineering. Also, they can have an opinion from council members with regard to their idea.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I apologize if I misunderstood this, but so in this process, will the staff sit down first for that preliminary review and then it comes to a conceptual presentation in the council, or what order does that take place in?
Well, with this change, yes, they basically will provide their conceptual application to us, and we will review it. And then obviously, if we have comments, they have to resubmit. It will not just be like it is now, that now we don't review it. It goes directly to now we will review, and if we have comments, they have to resubmit.
Okay, thank you.
But it is a lower cost option. Just to give you a little history, the council probably back in 2014 or 15, adopted this voluntary approach, because as Nelson said, people would come in and spend a lot of money, they would get feedback from us and might have to change things very dramatically. So we said, let's open up this process where you can come voluntarily, show us what you're thinking, and we'll give you all the feedback as to what we're thinking and whether we feel this fits in with the character of the village. And it's worked fairly well, but we did have an incident last year where somebody said, well, I didn't know that. Well, they did know that. They did know that that option was available, and in fact, others had used it previously. So I think this change is very, very good because it addresses some of the key elements that ultimately they're gonna have to meet and allows them to develop that concept, knowing what some of those key elements are. So I think that works better for them. It's a low-cost option. And when they come to us and we say, well, have some of these, significant elements been considered, they're gonna be able to say, yes, we've already had some initial review, taken some of these things into account. And so hopefully that concept fits within the context of what we're looking for.
Okay. No, that's great, thank you.
I agree. I think in the spirit of consistency and transparency, this process is great because, there may be a council member that doesn't want to engage in any ex parte communication and they feel like maybe they didn't know something. But in this case, no matter what council is here, all 5 people get the same information at the same time. And they don't get a different opinion or a different presentation if we were to meet with the client prior to the applicant. So I think from a consistency and a transparency standpoint, I think this is a very great step to strengthen our process.
Okay. I've been in favor of this since the workshop. I think it's great, and it helps. It helps both parties really. And I know too, we asked for a little more staff, high-level staff review because there was a couple times where I don't want to say the conversation fell flat, but I think there was some things that if maybe staff looked at it and advised us on, we would have had maybe some more productive conversations with the applicant. So I think this is great. There's 2 changes I want council to consider is on section 2B. It says
Sorry,
2B.
B, okay.
Yeah. Page 3.
Says an applicant may choose to participate in the following conceptual plan review process in order to gauge interest in his proposed project. I think it should say the proposed project. And then on section 2B1, it says, it's the last sentence there, that they shall submit a conceptual site plan. Is that, this is for the areas that they must, so should it say must or shall, okay? And I'll defer that to probably Keith too, to maybe answer that question before considering changing it from shall to must.
Tell me the
2B1.
2B1.
So the new sentence underlined at the very end, it says that they shall submit a conceptual site plan.
Applicant may choose to participate in the conceptual process based on the outcome of the program. The applicant may request projects on those roads shall submit conceptual. So that sentence applies to projects on Beach Road, US 1, Tequesta Drive, and Old Dixie and Cypress and Bridge that require a conceptual plan because
So is the word shall there adequate, or do you need the word must? That's
I think shall is much stronger.
I think shall, maybe half dozen one, half dozen the other.
I just want to make sure it's
Yeah.
legally written correctly. I'm indifferent, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable from my chair the way it's written, and we can certainly make the other change that you mentioned in the other. I think that's well taken.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, any public comment? Okay, council?
Motion to approve with the change in B from his to the.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on, agenda item 18, consider approval of name change from Linear Park to Linear Trail.
Did we skip 17?
Whoops, did I miss one?
Yeah, we should be
17.
Sorry, guys. 17, let me back that up. Ordinance number 07-23, first reading of rezoning our Cypress property that is currently zoned as C3.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 0723, an ordinance of the Village Council, Village of Tequesta, Florida, providing for the rezoning of certain real property within the corporate limits of the Village of Tequesta, which property consists of 1.03 acres more or less of land located immediately west of the Florida East Coast Railway south of Tequesta Drive, providing that this real property, which is more specifically described herein, shall be rezoned from the village zoning designation of C3 General Commercial District to the village zoning designation of R/OP Recreation/Open Space District, providing that the zoning map of the Village of Tequesta be amended to reflect the proper designation for this real property, providing conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you, Keith. Lance?
Good evening. Lance Lilly for the record, Senior Planner of Community Development. First off, I'd like to say congratulations, Mayor Young, Vice Mayor Brandon, if you're still here, and then our 2 new council members. As Keith read into the record, this application is actually, it was heard by the LPA in the March meeting. The intent of this application or this ordinance is to rezone an existing property that's currently zoned C3, which would be more of our commercial, or you can say light industrial area that we have, to more of a recreation or open space area. So it would go from C3 to ROP. Which that use of ROP allows for recreational, meaning like parks and whatnot, but it also accommodates conservation areas. The current future land use of this area, or the current land use designation for this area, is recreation open space, so this would be more so a clarification or a consistency with the zoning map with the future land use. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Council?
Thank you, Lance. By taking this from the current zoning to the ROP, do we have a database or an inventory on the website that references that? So my concern, not a concern, because we own the property now, people have unfettered access to it. But if somebody goes and sees that this is a park, and say there might be a 2-week or 3-week legal VRBO in the village, and they see, oh, there's a park over here, but they're not familiar with the area, they're not familiar that FEC comes through there and that the Brightline's gonna come through there. My concern is that without fencing at this time, or can we put up some type of warning signs for somebody that may not be? Because I don't think anybody's gonna go to it, no one's playing on it now to my knowledge. There might be some people that just kind of hang out there. But my concern is if people start treating this like a real park, and there's a soccer ball that goes towards the railroad track, that's a concern of mine. Can we do something with some signage in case people are not aware of that? Because especially if we have an inventory of our parks and rec, that people go through this and go, oh, I can just walk to this park and let the kids play. It's just...
So I guess, just to answer that, so a valid question. So my understanding, there's no intent of making this a park. It's just simply, that designation is really just our, that's why I mentioned that there's conservation areas. Mm-hmm. Conservation areas don't necessarily mean a park. Right. So the village can obviously choose whether they want it to be a recreation or a conservation, but my understanding, there's no intent at all for this to be recreation.
That's not 100%
so
true.
As far as
we've had different conversations about that, so
correct.
We're working on different concepts, so just want to correct that, Mr. Lance. You may not be familiar with those conversations that we've had as a council, so, but I do think the signage is appropriate at this time, at least till we can fence or we decide what long-term plan is for that area. I think it's a good comment.
Not expensive signage, but something, and to extend it to the north side, to linear park or trail, whatever we end up with. But my concern is we start seeing the Brightline come through, that resident or visitors to the area might, oh, it's a great place to go hang out. They're not aware that a 110-mile-an-hour train might come blowing through. So I agree with this, with the issue, but I'd like to see us be able to, in any of our parks, any of our property that really abuts the railroad, to put some safety signs up.
We can do that at a staff level. There's no approval needed for that. Well, I think it's appropriate.
Okay, great points.
Yeah.
Any other council comments?
I did have one comment, because when we look at the east side, where the cement facilities are, we don't know what the future of that holds. And there may be opportunities for the village with respect to that. So I'm very much in favor of the designation on the west side of the track. I would like to exclude the designation on the east side of the track at this time until we maybe find out a little further down the road what may be happening with the land due south of that. It's contiguous, and you never know what options might be available to us in the future. So I think the west side, it makes 100% sense. The east side, that's the only element I would kind of hold off on for the moment. That would be my thought.
Yeah, so the proposed ordinance in front of you is simply for the west side. It has nothing to do with
okay, because when I'm looking at the color scheme, it's showing the east side is...
Yeah, the intent of that is just to show as a reference
Okay,
to see
all right.
what's there
Okay.
currently. Correct.
Thank you for clarifying that then, thank you.
Yeah, it's simply just the portion that essentially the
Okay.
village owns currently,
I
which would be that
misunderstood
sliver.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any public comment? Mrs. Namath?
Jessica Namath, and I was actually going to speak as an EAC member to your comment, and Jeremy had reached out to us to ask the EAC to look at that piece of property. Am I correct? Is that the same piece we're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
And so we all walked that property, and when you physically walk it, I mean, there are railroad trestles, the length of this, I mean, it has a lot of work to be done, and so just to kind of clear it up so that people could even potentially walk on it. But we certainly agreed with you that it's too dangerous, or very dangerous, with that railroad right there, and love the idea of conservation use, which was, I believe, our recommendation, and would love to hear what the council's other thoughts were, that, like Jeremy was referencing, if there were park considerations, because yes, there would certainly be concerns that we thought as well, but love the conservation idea, so thank you.
Thank you. I do think we'll be workshopping that next month. We do have some conceptual plans from our landscape consultant. So that will be talking about that next month. All right. Any other public comment? Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we're actually on agenda item 18. Consider approval of name change from Linear Park to Linear Trail.
Once again, Lance Lilly, Senior Planner for Community Development. This consideration before you is for actually the parcel to the north, which is the Linear Park. As it stands right now, the Linear Park it's being used as you know, like walking or biking or whatnot. Right now, the name Linear Park, the consideration is really just to change it from Linear Park, maybe to, so there's, I guess, some concerns that the name Linear Park might be a little bit misleading, I guess. So it could be considered to be changed as Linear Trail instead. So as you can, if you look to our page 2 of our memo that's here, if you do happen to change the name from maybe Linear Park to Linear Trail or any other name, it would still be consistent with our level of service, which is in our comprehensive plan. So there would be no change as far as level of service to our residents. And that's it.
Thank you. Council comments or questions?
Nope.
All right. I looked up the parks that you referenced here, and they look very, very similar to ours. And the definition of Linear Park is applicable. So I guess really I'm indifferent, but I
Yeah.
don't see a need to change it.
I feel the same way. It's kind of like, whatever you call it, it is what it is. So,
Yeah. Okay. Public comment?
Just while she's coming up, but this was, I guess, directed from council to staff to look at. This wasn't us that just threw it out there. I think Mr. Stone originally brought it up, and I think Ms. Brandon kind of said it was a good idea to look at it, and so that's why it's in front of you. It was council driven at the time.
I think that it's a great suggestion to change, just as somebody, the food trucks, when I'm out for the EAC and working with the kids, I have maps out that the natural areas have given us that show where all of their parks are, and so we start talking, and people do often expect a little more from this one just because it's got park attached to it. So trail seems to be more accurate, like you're saying, you know, I think people would understand that as a walking trail or a biking trail or a roller, you know, something that is not a park with, amenities, you know, so to speak. So I would be for it, just my personal suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, council?
So Mayor.
Oh, hi, Vice Mayor, yes.
So when this did come up, it was when we were looking at these odd land areas that we do have, and if we just start naming them what they are, there might be less confusion, such as the Cypress property, maybe not call it a park, but linear park is more of a trail than an actual park. So it's just really to clarify what these areas are.
Yeah.
And it's not changing the level of service on our comp plan, so.
No, I mean, I agree. It's definitely more a better description of what it is. Just one question I have is, are there any other, I know we're specifically talking about this 7.14 acre area, but are there any other current linear parks that would also fall into this linear trail, or are we specifically just talking about this for now?
We are specifically talking about this, this 7.1 portion.
A question to perhaps Jeremy. Doing this change, is there what is the fiscal impact to the village?
Zero. No, this is typically just, I guess, clarify for our residents that you're not going to a park, you're going to more of a trail, and that was the intent of it, just like Ms. Brandon said. So there's no financial impact other than what we staff time to bring it to you guys at this point, which is pretty minimal, so.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, moving on, agenda item 19, second addendum to the Director of Community Development Consultant Agreement. Keith or Jeremy?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the second addendum to your contract for your planning consultant, which currently is Chen Moore and Associates, which recently acquired NZ Consultants in 2021. The village entered into an agreement with NZ Consultants Inc. to provide planning consultant services about a year ago. We entered into the first addendum, which modified the scope of services for a particular project and adjusted the fee schedule accordingly. That agreement was assigned to Chen Moore and Associates earlier this year. This is now a second addendum to that agreement, which accurately now redefines the titles of the different staff members who are working for the village. It defines the minimum hours of work for each of those staff members, and it breaks down the hourly rates and specifies the total maximum compensation under the agreement. Other than changing the scope of services provision and the compensation provision, all of the other terms and conditions of the original agreement that was originally entered into with NZ Consultants and assigned to Chen Moore would remain in full force and effect.
Council?
No questions.
No questions.
Do we change, Keith, did you say we changed the hourly rates with this addendum?
Yeah, I think that some of the hourly rates were adjusted, like we have a senior planner, an associate planner, and a principal planner. This calls out what the hourly rates are for each of those levels of planner. And Nils may be able to answer your specific question if the hourly rates changed from the original agreement.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the rates themselves, but I guess what I would have liked to have seen was what it was before and what it is now.
So and to piggyback to that, I want to make sure that this doesn't impact our level of service or our budget, because I know the original agreement had 56 hours a week, and this is now at 40 hours a week. And then the staff titles did change with the rate change, so I'm not sure how that compares to the different titles and rates that were listed in the previous agreement. So was the math done to make sure that we're still gonna be within budget and the level of service isn't decreasing?
Yeah, so I had a meeting with Chin Moore and of course Nilsa was there, she's part of Chin Moore. You know, we made sure that this still fit the budget for this year. Obviously, moving into next year, you know, there'll have to be some consideration. They have assured me that the level of service will remain high. I know Nilsa's not going anywhere. She will stay with the village and stay on as the I guess the also principal planner. Lance, who's been with the village, I won't say always, but has been with the village for a long time, is moving into a senior planner role, so that's what you have in front of you is that rate, which was very similar to what Nilsa was making, and then we have, we'll say, a new Lance coming in behind him. So I've been assured by Chin Moore, by Nilsa, who is part of Chin Moore, that our level of service will remain the same. We will have to consider some different rates next year or a different contract amount next year, so. And that will be something I'm very much involved with to make sure that level of service stays up. That's what I'm tasked with, so.
So for the current year, again, piggyback on what the mayor was saying, if we bump up against that maximum number and we find that, you know, there needs to be time invested above and beyond, we're going to be capped at that number for this year for budget purposes.
The current PO is like if you go to page 3 of the contract, the current PO is 141,440. Right. So this change will continue and will honor the current PO. So it's not going to exceed. So it's exactly the same PO. We made sure that we honor that PO that was already approved by this village council starting this current fiscal year. So that will not change. What it changed is the amount of hours, but still we are offering to the village 40 hours and at the same PO. There will not be any impact to your current budget.
So, I mean, you've been with us a long time, you've done a fantastic job. But to the mayor's point, I understand there's a change in the hours, but if we find that, I guess what I'm saying is, for you to continue to deliver the level of service you have, if you find you have to exceed those hours, is Chen Moore willing for this budget year to absorb that? Because our expectation is the service is going to remain as is.
Yes, it will. We will honor this PO, and we, as always, we will honor the level of service. Like I mentioned before, I'm going nowhere, so I will continue serving the village, and this is the PO for this fiscal year. So, you know, Lance, this September, Lance will be 7 years with the village. So, and obviously he has progressed to be a senior planner. So, and again, we work very close as a team. So the new person in the team, her name is McKenna. So she is also taking some responsibility during the planning and zoning board meeting. You know, she sits and takes notes, and she, you know, as a clerk. So it's important to continue evolving and also maturing. So that's what it is here. But I will always be here.
Okay.
All right, any other council comments? Oh, any public comment? All right, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you,
Thank
Nelson.
you.
Moving on, agenda item 20, consider approval of an agreement with Ferguson Enterprises for water meter fittings and water line accessories.
Marjorie, you get to close out the night.
Yes, and I will try not to tarry too long here. This first agenda item, or number 19, is a piggyback on the city of Deerfield Beach. They're acting as an agent for the Southeast Florida Governmental Purchasing Group, and we want to piggyback on that contract because it leverages some negotiated contract prices with Ferguson, which is one of the vendors that we've been using, and have a formal contract with them. So in your, in some of the backup material, there is a chart. It's a budget summary table We don't know, we never know exactly what we're gonna spend on a vendor like this on maintenance items. All we can do is plan and budget and do, best laid plans. But we could expend, up to, we buy our, meters, valves, and hydrants typically through Ferguson. We anticipate that we would spend about $45,000 a year. So water maintenance, and for the, under that particular item where it says there's a total of $67,575, if you add the sub lines up, it doesn't add up to $67,575. There's one item missing, which was a carryover item for wind construction that we had the concrete apron repair and replacement item. So if you're reading the numbers in the background, that's what's missing off of that. So anyway, that's just an example of what we might use. Are there any questions?
Council? Nope. Any public comment? All right, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on, agenda item 21, consider approval of Kimley Horn work authorization for the County Line Road Bridge Water Main relocation.
Yes, this item, as y'all know, the county has a project that is in design and permitting to replace the bridge along County Line Road. So that project is not currently funded by the county. They're looking for some grant funding. The council approved a letter in support to send to the legislature for that. When I first got here, we had been proceeding to, when you talk about a plan, sometimes a plan really comes together. In this case, we had a change of plans. So we were going to have a joint contract with the LRD, the Loxahatchee River District, to do the design and permitting. And they were going to do a directional bore. They could never be, we have two water mains that lie along, or are in pipes, conduits along the side of that bridge. And so the contract was going to be to directional bore under the bridge and put new pipes in. When we started talking to the county about the project, they said, well, you're allowed to rehang the pipes back on the bridge, which is actually an option that we prefer, because then you know where the pipes are. If something goes wrong, you can more easily fix it. So we said, well, LRD, we're going to try to proceed along and work with the county. And we were working with their contractor, which was Dyer, Riddle, Mills, and Priest Court. And the county decided to try to go for an exemption, and they got it. And if because they got the exemption, having us have a temporary line, I'm trying to explain this where you understand it, so you'll have to stop me if I'm, to have an exemption, they would not be able to have an exemption if they did the project with us. Because to hang a temporary line for our pipes would require a full-blown permit. And the county was not willing to put themselves on the line for that full-blown permit. So they called and said, hey, we're walking back on what we've talked about. I said, okay. I picked up the phone, I called LRD, and they said, well, we just submitted our permit applications. So it's too late to go together on the design and permitting. However, if we all are permitted at the same time, then we will be willing to do the construction portion together. So I talked to Kimley Horn, and they jumped in there, and they've already submitted the permitting. And we are basically on track at the same timeline with Loxahatchee River District. We will end up having to do a directional bore, and we will have to get some permission and to use some conservation easements and another easement. But that's the plan. The cost was, no matter which direction we went, It was underestimated at the time, but you know how costs have been going up. And so our plan is to reallocate money from another line item that we're going to defer, because we already have, the line item that we're going to defer is superficial well replacement number 20. So that particular project, we've already got 2 other superficial well replacement projects that are nearing 100% design, and so we can defer this one until next year because we would still have to go through the construction process and everything else. So we have time for that one. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you. Council?
No, thanks for explaining that. I'm sure this process hasn't been easy.
It's a long staff memo.
Yes.
And many minutes went into that, so.
Appreciate that, and looking forward, with where we can pull from one to the other and what we can properly defer, that the level of service doesn't suffer, our residents don't suffer. So thank you for that. I'm in favor of this, so thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, you explained it pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and you answered my question. My question was going to be, could you actually undertake all these projects within the original budget that you had, and you answered that. So, and I understand the deferral, the necessity of the deferral, so I'm good.
Thank you. So this is, I think, the second project we've deferred now in the past 2 or 3 months. Didn't we have to defer a water main replacement phase somewhere? I can't remember where. Is it listed on here?
So the item that we've deferred so far is water main replacement project number 4, or number 1, which is Tequesta Drive,
Yeah.
right? So, and that's because of the cost.
The cost, yeah. So we've deferred 2 projects to next year, I assume, and because I just want to make sure everyone's clear. I take no issue to it, but are we deferring the costs and we anticipate to have the funds to defer those costs next year? Or are deferring those projects and them actually happening next year is going to be contingent upon our discussion with the water rates?
So that's a
next
great
month?
question. So I would, because of the increase in the costs, and I've got with staff and with our valued our consulting team, and looked at the number of projects that we have planned and the timing without reducing the level of service. So I've been in utilities over 30 years, and the level of service is very important. Public health and safety is critical to me. But we've laid out what we think is a reasonable risk of deferring certain projects, and looked at the costs, and depending on what the ultimate decision is for the rates, that will help determine which projects, which projects move forward, the timing and the sequencing, and how many we can do in a given year.
Do you see any lessening of the cost pressures at all in your world?
So across the state, as you know, I'm a state officer.
Right.
So what we've talked about and what I've heard is that we're not seeing an increase, a significant increase in price like we did over the last 9 to 12 months.
But you're not seeing a rollback either?
Not seeing a rollback yet.
Okay.
So water main projects 1 and 4 came in at 60% higher than the engineer's opinion of probable cost. That is fairly unusual. We've been seeing mostly 30% increases. When we proceeded with the financial model, we used 30%. Are we right? We hope so. That's our best guess.
Yeah.
With Rob Ory's level of experience, I've been working with him for 30 years. With mine and with our consultants' experience, that's our best guess, but we don't know.
Well, I mean, we've had a very unusual economic
We do.
environment. So I know the challenges of trying to budget under those circumstances. So I think you guys, I think this is true across the board with the village. I think we're attempting to do the very best we can under the circumstances. But as we go forward, as part of the discussion, if you can kind of let us know what those cost pressures continue to look like, just so we have
I
an
will.
idea of what we're seeing.
There's only one project that I've heard of that came in less than what was bid, and that was a county project. So it's a large project where they can leverage a lot of work.
Okay. And I know you guys try to piggyback when you can. I mean, I know you're trying to pull all the levers that keep costs as low as possible, consistent with the quality of the work that we're looking for, so.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Marjorie. Thank you.
Okay, any public comment?
Do you know when that bridge is going to start under construction?
So that's a great question. It is not currently I've heard as recently as last week at the Loxahatchee River Preservation Initiative meeting that the project is not currently funded by Martin County. And you know what? That's exactly what I said. Let it go on. And that the timeline is probably much more aggressive than what the actual timeline will be. And I said, good. So they are looking for that funding, and that'll be also something that I make sure I keep the manager and up to date.
And if they don't get the funding?
They will eventually have to fund that. I used to be the city engineer, not here.
That would delay it even more.
It would delay it, but because of the rating of the bridge, they will have to, they'll be forced to replace it for public safety.
They might, wait enough before at least two lanes are open.
Be nice to have, yeah, exactly.
Okay, any other public comment? Council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Marjorie, last one. Agenda item 22, consider approval of an agreement with Duval Chevy for purchase of a Colorado.
So, we're very disappointed to bring this item before you. And that's primarily because we had ordered a hybrid. And we had, in the interest of reducing our carbon footprint and bringing forward Tequesta and reducing carbon footprint, we had ordered that, and if Doug were here, he would tell you, he would be giving you some background on why it's so difficult to get a hybrid now. So that the chips are virtually impossible to get for those vehicles. The order, we had ordered it over a year ago, and the order, they just flat out canceled it on us. Hey, you're out of luck. That's it. So Doug went and he found, this is very unusual, as I had actually said at the last council meeting, to be able to find a vehicle on the lot available. That's, I can only assume that another utility or municipality was not able to end up purchasing. And they let us know that it was available, and we're substituting the purchase of this Chevrolet Silverado, or Colorado rather, for that vehicle because we are short a vehicle at the plant and we can't wait any longer. We're switching, we're running vehicles back and forth, and we really need to get it replaced. And there's only a $290 difference, but we do wish we were able to get the hybrid.
Council comments? Questions?
I appreciate the notion of the hybrid. I said this last time, and I'm going to say it again. 80% of the battery production is coming out of China. China controls most of the lithium production in the world. They also control most of the cobalt production in the Congo, which is being done under horrendous conditions for the people who live there with a horrendous environmental damage. I'm all for green energy. I am not for supporting until we find a way to disassociate this economic activity from China. I am not supportive of us engaging in activities that support a country at this point in time that is not a competitor but an adversary. So personally, I'm fine with the fact that we're not buying a hybrid. And I don't really want to see us, quote unquote, go electric until we know that the benefits of that are going to permeate to the U.S. and not to a foreign adversary. So I realize that's a political statement, but I said it once before, and I just wanted to reiterate that for the record. So I'm very happy with the fact that you're going in the direction you are.
So it's a bummer. We've had to pivot on several vehicles this year because the inventory is really low. I just want to make sure, I mean, will this vehicle suit your needs?
Yes.
Okay, that's
And
all
a
that
great
really
question.
matters. I want to make sure.
The very words
We're
I
not
used with
settling.
Nate.
Okay.
Is this gonna work for you?
Okay,
I said,
great.
yeah.
Okay. All right, public comment? Oh, council?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Thank you.
Moving on, thank you, Marjorie. Moving on to any other matters. Anyone have anything else to bring up tonight?
I don't.
You're not.
I'm good.
Okay. Vice Mayor Brandon?
No, ma'am, unless y'all have any tips and tricks for the flu.
Sleep.
Please get better, feel better.
I've tried everything.
I have nothing to add, so can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Almost.